Welcome to the Butterfly Effect. I'm Chris Horner. This is stage 2 of the Giro d'Italia. Today's stage at 202 kilometers and pretty much pancake flat for the whole end of today's stage. It's a 202 kilometers, like I said, 125 miles in length, and you just got a couple little bumps at the beginning of the stage, but with the majority of the stage being pancake flat today, you know it's a time for the pure sprinters to come to work here at the Giro d'Italia. If they want to start racking up some sprint stage victories here, then they're going to have to come to the front. So like I said in yesterday's stage 1 of the Giro, that we know, of course, Soudal Quick-Step's, Remco Evenepoel's team's not going to have to ride the front at all throughout the whole stage. And when the racing starts, once the flag drops at kilometer 0, we're going to see 4 riders go up the road. And then we're going to start to see one more Arkea Samsic rider. He's going to slip through. As we see him just on the left side of the peloton there as it's going curb to curb. He's going to slip by one of his teammates. We'll see his teammate look left over him. I'm sure he's saying, "Good luck, buddy. Have a good time." And then all of a sudden we see Vieira. He'll jump out of the break, out of the field going curb to curb, and he'll jump across to the break. It's going to take him about 5, 6, 7 kilometers to get up to the break, and then we're going to have 5 guys in this front breakaway on stage 2. Those 5 guys represented by AG2R's Paul Lapira, Tomas Champion from Cofidis, Alessandro Vire, like I said, the last rider to make it across from Arkea Samsic, Mattia Baez from Iolo Cometa, and Stefano Gondin from Corratec. Those 5 riders, they get about a 5.5 minute gap on the peloton, but then Trek Segafredo start going to work, right? They get on the front, they start drilling it. We see them stringing out the peloton back there, but we'll see Jumbo-Visma all wrapped together. This is 6, 7 guys right here all going up the climb together, and this kind of pace on today's stage 2 is exactly what Primoz Roglic will need. Now, whenever your legs aren't quite open up after yesterday's individual TT to start the Giro, you know today is a great opener stage at 200 kilometers, a fairly easy pace, and then it's going to start getting interesting at the finish of the stage like we always know it will on these sprinter stages. But keep in mind, this is a nice day for Jumbo-Visma to be able to start opening up the legs and get some of the rhythm of the racing into Primoz Roglic's legs, and then to 50% of their other team that just got invited here to the Giro d'Italia last minute with a week to go before the race started. So keep that in mind, because this is a nice stage for Jumbo-Visma to be able to start working out all the kinks and get back into the flow of the rhythm of bike racing. Now up front with Trek Segafredo, Alpecin Deceuninck will jump on. Later we'll start seeing Movistar on the front. And then as they reach the coast with about 150 kilometers to go, this is when DSM start getting on the front. So we got 4 teams chasing the riders out front. Now, with the only thing really happening in today's stage, one of the sprint competition line, we saw that it was Gaviria from Movistar that ended up taking a few points to add to his tally here at the Giro d'Italia Stage 2. But up front, when the KOM points were always available, it was the AG2R rider, Paul Lapira, that was throwing in big-time efforts and taking the KOM points here on stage 2. When the stage wraps up, Paul Lapira from AG2R, he'll have the KOM jersey at the end of today's stage 2, but the breakaway will get all wrapped up with about 40 kilometers still to go in today's stage. Now, about 30 kilometers to go, this is when it starts getting nervous, right? We start seeing all of the teams really start lining up in formation. And this is how you know that things are going to start to change energy-wise in the peloton, because once the teams start lining up in formation, it means the pace is going to start going fast. Things are going curb to curb with under 20 kilometers to go. So we start seeing all the teams in formation lined up together. Trek Segafredo is always on the right side of the road with about 5 guys lined up there. We see Jumbo-Visma starting to get nervous at the front because they want to keep, of course, Primoz Roglic in solid position until at least 3 kilometers to go when we take the 3K rule into effect. And then the crashes won't be so important if they should come after 3K. But you got to get Primoz Roglic into that last 3K, and all the other GC teams got to do the same. Once we get into 14 kilometers to go, this is when we'll see the first accident. Just kind of looked like everybody got pushed together, and all of a sudden one rider went down and a few other riders got caught behind. We'll see the Movistar riders chase behind, and they'll get back to the back of the peloton before the finish of today's stage. Things up front now with 12K to go. It is crazy nervous. They're 25 wide and 5 deep as everybody's fighting for real estate here on stage 2. Get under 10 kilometers to go. It's the same MO with all the teams fighting position. For 7K to go, this is when we're going to see Team Ineos get to the front. They're driving on the right side of the road. Geraint Thomas is in solid position and out of danger here, but Ineos just don't have that much power as they start losing the front. 5K to go. It's Alpecin de Koenig. They got guys lined up all over the front here as they're trying to win with Caden Groves. They've been the second team riding on the front here at stage 2 of the Giro, so they've done a ton of work already. Now we're coming into 5K to go. Now 4.1, things are starting to narrow up. Look, as the barricades are starting to come in, UAE Team Emirates are on the left side of the road, but a little bit split up. 3-4 riders over there as they're coming up the left side as it's narrowing up. Just as everything starts to narrow, we see Alpecin de Koenig on the front. Quick Step, Soudal Quick Steps with Remco Evenepoel in the race leader's pink jersey. He's up front. And Primoz Roglic from Jumbo-Visma's up there. All the way on the right side of the road is Trek Segafredo. Now as everything starts to pinch together, it looks like what I could possibly call is possibly happening here. It's hard to tell because the pictures are hard and we're getting the front angle here of the peloton. I believe it's UAE Team Emirates coming over from the left side and they're pushing hard. They're on the Soudal Quick Step riders. You see him come up out of his saddle just in his position and you see him moving hard over to the right. Now the whole peloton's moving from the left side of the road trying to come into the narrow barricades there as everybody's moving to the right. And then, bam, there's a crash. The DSM rider's the first to go down. He goes down with the Movistar rider. And then Trek Segafredo, who have been racing marvelous here on stage 2 of the Giro, they go straight into the pile as they see the Trek Segafredo rider just flying over the pile of the DSM and Movistar bikes and bodies there. Now, up front as they're coming out, it's Alpecin de Koenig that's on the front, and they're not slowing up for anybody. They're going full gas. UAE Team Emirates are up front. Soudal Quick Steps, Remco Evenepoel and a couple teammates, he's there. Primoz Roglic made it through, but when we look behind, wow, there's only 50 guys here in the peloton. What happened and what possibly caused that crash? Well, like I said, UAE Team Emirates, I'm sure, squeezed it over, but let me back the film up one more time and show you what really is causing the crash. Not what started to cause the crash, but what caused the crash. We look back there on the right side of the road. It's DSM's Martin Toosveld there that was looking backwards. As he started to look forward, everybody was coming over from the left side, squeezing over to the right. They were hitting the brakes, of course, because they're overlapping wheels. As they're hitting the brakes, Martin back there from DSM, he was looking backwards. When he looks forwards, he's going straight into the Movistar rider, and that's the finishing touches that an accident needs, right? It's never just one person. It always takes 2, 3, 4, and in bike racing, sometimes 5 or 10 guys, and that was the chain reaction that causes that crash. Well, now we got 50 guys up front, and it looks like we're missing GC guys because there's no way everybody in the top 10 from yesterday's individual time trials made this split with 50 guys left up there. We start going into 2 kilometers to go, and this is when Jaco Alula take over the front. They got 2 guys up front. Alpecin de Koenig is still in solid position, and we look at Remco Evenepoel now because the group is slimmed down to about 50-55 riders. Primoz Roglic is there up front to the right side with his Jumbo-Visma guys, but Remco Evenepoel's in the back, just taking it safe as we see 50 guys are going to battle out for today's stage 2 victory of the Giro. Now they come in with just under 2 kilometers to go, and this is when we're going to see Jonathan Milan and Pascal Ackermann. They come together, they're teammates from Bahrain Victorious, and Jonathan Milan yells over as he looks at his teammate, "Go, brother, you got to go." He's a little too far back. It's 1.8 kilometers to go. Pascal Ackermann throws down on the acceleration with Jonathan Milan, the Bahrain Victorious teammate, on his wheel as the 2 riders are flying up the left side of the peloton. With 1.4 kilometers to go, they're going to come into the big, long roundabout that they're going to do the right side, entering and going 3/4 of the way around the roundabout. As they come out, Pascal Ackermann has Jonathan Milan in perfect position right there behind Caden Groves from Alpecin de Koenig. Up front now, we got 2 right turns coming just after that roundabout. Jaco Alula's on the front. In between the 2 right turns, you see the Jaco rider. He looks right over his shoulder, realizes he's still got Michael Matthews close enough back there, so he's throwing down all the way into the last right turn with 1K to go. as the Jayco Lula rider comes out with 900 meters to go. He's done. His legs are finished. He's pulling off the front. Fantastic job for Jayco Lula trying to control the peloton here, and now he's done pulling off at 900 meters to go. It's Alpecin de Koenig time now with 900 meters left in today's stage 2 of the Giro, as we see not one, not two, but 3 Alpecin de Koenig riders on the front. 850 meters to go. Caden Groves has a solid shot here of winning stage 2. Up front, just behind the Alpecin de Koenig guys, we see Intermarché. They got 3 riders there, and they're starting to swarm up from the left side of the road. It's Lawrence Rex, Nicolo Bonificio, and their new sprinter, Merritt. With those 3 riders coming up to the front, we'll see there that they're getting them into solid position. And we see Jonathan Milan, who's in perfect spot there just behind Caden Groves. He's looking left over his shoulder. He sees the Intermarché. 3 riders accelerating fast, but they still haven't passed them. Now they get all the way up there to Jonathan Milan's wheel, and we see Lawrence Rex give the chicken arm as he's throwing the elbow out. He's done now. He's going to pull off, and his 2 sprinters on his wheel, they're going to have to battle for the stage victory. Now up front, they're down to 1 lead-out guy for Caden Groves. As we know, it's Sinkeldam at the front. Roman Sinkeldam is throwing in everything he's got with about 500-600 meters to go. He'll keep pulling all the way into about 200 meters to go. But let's back the film up, because at 250, this is when Movistar's Gaviria, he throws in his attack to start trying to win here at stage 2. He's coming from about 5th position. At the same moment he's throwing in that attack, it's Bonificio that's battling there with Jonathan Milan from Bahrain Victorious. We see they're bumping each other. It looks like they're going to fight all the way to the line, but Gaviria comes flying by the Intermarché rider, so he moves over to the left. What's happening at the front? Well, coming down the center there is Roman Sinkeldam from Alpecin de Koenig as he's dropping down the center. Now all of a sudden, Caden Groves at 200 meters, he starts his sprint. Jonathan Milan goes to the right with Caden Groves. Gaviria's going to the left, and he's got Intermarché locked on his wheel. But only thing is, they've switched positions, because now it's Merritt that came from the back that has Gaviria's wheel. Now, as we start to see Sinkeldam blowing through the middle there, that's opened up the middle gap now for Jonathan Milan to start his acceleration at 150 meters to go. He goes hard to the left of Caden Groves, who's starting to fade now. Jonathan Milan, the Bahrain Victorious rider, is accelerating 100 meters to go. He's going even, 75. He's got the lead, 50 meters to go. He's got a solid lead, and when he crosses the line, he's going to yell out a huge roar as he wins his first Giro d'Italia. First participation here at the Giro d'Italia too. So he wins stage 2, first Giro d'Italia, and first big-time victory here at the European Peloton. Yes, I know he won back at stage 2 of the Saudi Tour, but that was a different kind of finish for a pure sprinter. Now, when he won the Saudi Tour, they were going uphill for about 2 kilometers, 3 kilometers, if I remember correctly. And of course, he had to come around Dylan Groenewegen at the finish, but Dylan Groenewegen with that uphill drag was just hurting the whole time on the pedal. This is a completely different victory. Now, guys, when he was doing his interview earlier in the stage with about 40 kilometers to go, he had talked about how he feels like he's on good form. He wants to come into this and try to go for a victory because today's stage isn't too complicated. But with that big roar after crossing the finish line and winning here at stage 2, this is a whole nother level if you want to be considered one of the top sprinters in the world. And when the commentators were talking about Jonathan Milan, I thought, yeah, this is a good kid. He can certainly ride the bike. But when I saw him win at the Saudi Tour, like I said, that was a different kind of scenario, different quality field, and it wasn't a flat run-in stage like we're watching in today's. His acceleration at 150 meters to go blew the doors off of everyone for him to win by more than a bike length here on stage 2 and put Caden Groves into 3rd place, who faded at the line. 2nd on the stage, David Decker from Arkea Samsic, who came out of nowhere from the back of the peloton there and went all the way through the peloton and up the right side fencing to get 2nd on the stage. That was a big time result here. But when we start looking at all the details, Jonathan Milan's acceleration was nothing less than super impressive to win his first stage here at the Giro d'Italia on day 2 of racing. Now, when we start looking at the general classification, let me remind you guys, only about 50 guys finished in this front group. So, of course, there's guys in the top 10 that missed out. Remco Evenepoel protected the pink jersey, though. He finished with these front guys. Primoz Roglic from Jumbo-Visma, they always had him in a solid position. But Jay Vine lost time on today's stage. Brandon McNulty lost about 12 seconds. And then we look at Teo Gegenhardt for Team Ineos. He lost 19 seconds along with Jay Vine on today's stage. So 3 guys in the top 10 will stay in the top 10, will get bumped back to the 8th, 9th, and 10th position in the top 10 of the general classification. That was a gift when you really look at today's stage. That crash at 3.8 kilometers to go, the road had narrowed up so much, they could have easily lost a massive amount of times when you had 2 teams on the front driving 100%, like Alpecin, Deceuninck were, and of course Jaco Alula, who jumped in there with about 2 kilometers to go, driving it into the finish for Michael Matthews, who finished top 10 on today's stage of the Giro. Exciting stage when you're looking at about 40 kilometers to go after they wrapped up the breakaway, and then 30 kilometers to go when things started going curb to curb. 20 kilometers ago when it was 25 wide and 5 deep. That is definitely a time when you certainly want to tune in on today's stage 2 of the Giro. But if you don't have much time, you better tune in to the last 5K for sure, because it was an exciting finish here at the Giro d'Italia and a great big victory for Jonathan Milan for Bahrain Victorious. Congratulations, Bahrain Victorious. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. I'll see you on the next edition real soon of the Butterfly Effect.